Welcome to the study. This is Professor Hemlock here. Today I am coming with a 95 Mythic Inerva parse video, and I want to kind of break down how this fight went for me. So I think the most important thing to start with here is that this was progression for my guild. This was not a boss that is on farm. Since it's progression, we're going to have a lot of mistakes happen. We're going to miss DPS checks, and sometimes we'll make those DPS checks. So since it's kind of been a rough or sketchy to say the best for our guild here, there was polls where we'd make all the DPS checks and polls where we'd miss some DPS checks. And due to that, I kind of have some cooldown cycling issues that I could have handled better. So I want to kind of break down times where I did good and times where I did bad, right? So first off, we're going to start this poll here by trying to get a clear casting proc. So I'm spamming Arcane Explosion and then Mana Bun. And a mana Bun after every time you're explosioning. Hopefully we get that clear cast proc. Unfortunately here we do not. So I then missiles to get my best stack. So I'm going to cast missiles 3 times. Radiant Spark, Touch of the Magi, my Soul Letting Ruby, and AP. I'm going to go 5 Arcane Blasts into a barrage here to maximize that damage since we have Bloodlust, and we get a 65,500 Touch of the Magi. So overall, relatively clean opener there. I'm going to drop Rune right off the bat. After that, my AP ends and my Rune ends, and I'm going to go into a little mini burn phase here. To what I've kind of noticed is when I do this, I get enough DPS uptime here to make the DPS check, where previously I was being a little bit more slow with my cooldowns to maximize the output of my cooldowns, but it just wasn't as effective. So right here, right now, we have 1 minute 15 seconds on AP and 15 seconds on Radiant Spark. So this is where my first mistake is about to really happen. Aside from the unlucky start, right now I'm going to drop Rune. I should have waited 1 additional global to get Spark in on my Touch of the Magi. Instead, I do not cast Spark, missing out on a substantial amount of DPS there. So that's kind of a big bummer that we missed out on that DPS check. But we're hopefully going to make up for it as the pull continues. So since I'd burned all my mana there, I'm going to evocate. Now I want to have max charges, and since I'm at full mana, I am going to essentially utilize my clear casting procs. I'm going to Radiant Spark. Since I have 25 seconds left on AP, I can get that Radiant Spark in, and I'll have it back up by my next cooldown cycle. So I'm going to use it to at least maximize as much damage as I can. Now, since I'm saving for my next burn phase, I'm essentially just going into a little mini conserve phase where I get 18 Harmony stacks, 4 charges, and then I dump. Now that right now we're going into that next burn phase, the ads are spawning. I use my Soul Letting Ruby first. That way it hits me when I use my cooldowns. Spark, Touch, AP. We're going to use Palm here to move, and we're only going to cast 4 blasts since I have no haste. And then we're going to try and sneak that barrage in right there, and we get a 56,000 Touch of the Magi. So real clean. We got in what we needed to, even though we had to use a movement CD there. So that was a much better use of cooldowns. Okay, so right now we're going into a little conserve phase is what it looks like. We're getting 18 stacks on Harmony. I should have used my orb prior to using my missiles there. That way I could have gotten orb on CD. Now as the boss is moving here, the next phase that's coming up is we're going to have to utilize our invulnerabilities to make sure we don't get as many ad spawns as possible. We're trying to gimmick the fight. Unfortunately, I do miss it, but I have Rune, I have Radiant Spark, and I have Touch of the Magi. So now when these ads drop, they're going to get hit with that massive explosion there as best as possible. So since that was timed really effectively right there, we do end up now we're back on top of the meters, and we're looking really clean right now. So overall, really good. Now we are trying to soak as much as possible here. Oh, looks like we missed a soak there or something. We took a bunch of damage. So now I'm at 18. We've got the boss relatively low, and everything is looking good. So right now I'm in a build phase where I'm going to get my 18 stacks. We've got 20 seconds on our cooldown, so we're actually going to do what I think is going to be another dump. where I'll get 4 charges, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I drop, I orb, I missiles. Very clean. That was a great little cycle there. Now, what I should probably do is evocate. I do evocate there. So I was at 20% mana. Great time to evocate. Now I have all my cooldowns back up, so this is going to be great. We Soul Letting Ruby, Radiant Spark, Touch of the Magi, AP, 5 blasts, 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, so many crits. 4 and 5. Oh my gosh, and the blast even crit. Massive damage. So that was really nice. That was like a really good one. So we're doing really good right now. 7.2k DPS, and everything on this fight has gone pretty smooth so far. So now we're going to enter the final phase here. If there's another set of ads that spawn, we're simply going to ignore killing the ads, and we're going to just try and burn the boss. So right now I'm waiting for my Touch of the Magi to come back off cooldown. And then when that Touch of the Magi comes back off cooldown, we're going to go into another mini burn phase. So right here, Rune, Spark, Touch of the Magi, and then we'll get our blasts off. We're going to do 4 or 5, depending on if we need to soak or anything. So we do 4 there. Now I see really deep there, and I get the soak. So that right there was super nice. We got the beams coming out, and I need to avoid those beams. It looks like I get hit by one of them. Oh, and we're just on the edge here, trying to get out of the way. And unfortunately, I do just simply die. I don't know if we missed a soak or something right there. But the boss is now really low. We died at around 6.9k DPS. And it looks like we are going to down the boss there. So, beautiful. That was a just great fight. We ended at 6.5k DPS, which was a 94 parse. Possibly if I didn't die there, I might have had a better parse, but, you know, it's all about downing the boss, right? So going long for that soak was fairly important. And it ended up being a clean fight. So I had a couple things that I could have improved on there. I had a time where I wasn't patient and didn't use Radiant Spark with my proper cooldown cycle. I needed to be slower there. And then there was a couple of times where I used missiles prior to orbing. As Kyrian, the second you finish your rotation, you want to use orb and then go into all your clear casts that you get from your Radiant Spark Touch of the Magi combo. That way you get your orb on CD, you use all of your missiles to get back up to 18, and then you blast twice after. And then orb will be up after your next little dump phase, so you can go right back into utilizing that next cycle of cooldowns, or you can build back up again and dump again, and then kind of repeat going into depending on where the boss fight is at. Overall, though, relatively clean run. Didn't get any of the beam soaks, so that helped the parse out quite a bit. And then we ended up topping the meters for our guild, so felt really good to down that boss last night. Now, I want to thank everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Hoping to put out more raid content as we keep downing bosses. So, thank you guys, and keep the dream alive. Bye.